Chris Adino with American Outdoor News. Today we're here with Ryan Klesko, and future Hall of Famer from the Atlanta Braves. Ryan, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
You are like the consummate outdoorsman. You grew up outdoors. You surf. You hunt. What don't you do?
Yeah, I don't have time for a whole lot of hobbies. I've never been a really good golfer because I've never had time to do it besides the fishing and the surfing and the spear fishing. And I grew up around the water. I grew up in California, which was crazy because they called me the California redneck for a while. I was like, how does a guy from California grow up in the outdoors? And I guess my whole family did it. I grew up, going to the dove fields and quail hunting and right outside of Bakersfield, California. My dad and a lot of my friends around there, we did a lot of bird hunting early on in the days, pheasant hunting, quail hunting, dove hunting. Grew up doing a lot of bird hunting. Really didn't get into the big game stuff until kind of later, or probably once I was drafted by the Braves when I was 18, and then started traveling a little bit. So started having some access to some deer hunting and stuff as I got a little bit older.
Did that conflict with baseball at all? How did that meld together?
Well, it was crazy. The season's so long, and we always found a way. There was always guys on the team that liked to hunt and fish and to do outdoor activities. So as soon as the schedule came out, I remember in the minor leagues, we used to a few of us used to travel with all our fishing gear because we'd always, there'd be ponds and stuff every time on the road. So there was a group of us that always loved to be in the outdoors. In the minor leagues and the major leagues. When I was over in San Diego, we used to have off days in Colorado, so we'd go fly fishing. We actually had an elk tag one year. It was over the counter, so me and Chipper Jones and Charlie O'Brien went out. We both had mule deer and elk tags in Colorado, and so whenever we would get our when they released the MLB schedule of the season, we'd get it out and find out when we had off days. There's been plenty of times where I've gone up and went albacore fishing or yellowtail fishing in California, or these road trips, dove hunting in Arizona while we're playing the Diamondbacks. Get up in the morning, do a dove hunt, come back, take a nap at the hotel, and then be at the ballpark by 3:00. So we always, you're going to have a lot of time off, but it was kind of just a way to get out in the outdoors, always kind of relax my mind because it's such a crazy, hectic world. And, it's pretty stressful when you're out there every day trying to perform. But that was a way for me to get away, help me relax. And I guess it just become the normal.
Kind of zone in for the game, just, out there ripping some lips or shooting some doves or anything. Now, did you have any clauses in your contract? Because I know, there's some teams that don't like you to do dangerous activities and things of that nature. Hunting with a bow, hunting with a rifle. Were there any restrictions, or was there anything in your contract?
No, there wasn't anything in there. I did have, they did find out that I surfed a lot, and I had to put in my contract in San Diego that I was allowed to surf during the season. There was a couple of guys on the team that we went and had that put in on our contract, and that's just, you can add stuff. There's other things that you can add. You can actually you can insure yourself too. So if the team if you get hurt, you can get hurt doing anything. So you can insure yourself by yourself too. So I used to do some stuff with the police, and we used to do undercover search raids I used to volunteer in the off season when I was younger. A friend of mine worked for the SWAT team, so I used to do that. So I insured my body just in case I got hurt doing that. I would have enough to live on, for the rest of my life. But so, yeah, I guess I'm an outdoor guy. I love being in the outdoors, and we had some really crazy times, some fun stuff, even during turkey season too. I remember we went during turkey season. That's when the season was kicked off, and we'd be down there when we were with the Braves. We used to have spring training all around in Florida, so that was prime time for when turkey season's opened up. So there were times where I'd bring a turkey in the clubhouse, and after a morning or an afternoon, I'd bring a turkey in the clubhouse and cook it up for the guy, wild turkey, and cook it up for the guys for lunch or dinner.
So you're a chef too?
Oh yeah, love cooking.
You're going to have to keep an eye off my cookbook that's coming out.
Oh, heck yeah. Yep. I just gotten in. One of my dad's best friends was a wild game chef, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot from him over the years about that stuff too. But Marquise Grissom and I, one of my teammates, used to go out and do a lot of crappie fishing too. So when I'm fishing, they call it crappie. I call it crappie, and the southern people call it crappie. They call it white perch. What do they call it up there where you guys are at?
We call them crappie.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think north, Minnesota and stuff, I think they call them white perch. There's so many different, sakale in Louisiana. I think they call them sakale in Louisiana. So there's a lot of names for one fish. It's kind of like the mahi,
Yeah.
dorado, mahi, all that. So, but, it's funny. First time that some said we're going to go out fishing for white perch. I was like, what's that? I figured out it was the same thing.
Now, you've introduced a lot of people into the outdoors that never hunted before. Now, before you bring somebody out, do they have to like kiss your World Series ring like the Godfather of the outdoors?
Oh no, man! I just someone did it for me, and I do it for them. But I think out of all the crazy stories, the stories about introducing people in the outdoors, I think it was Barry Bonds was the one that sticks out the most. Barry, my last year playing with before I retired, Barry and I were teammates in San Francisco, and I got him into archery hunting. Took him on some trips. We shot skeet here at the farm. I'm actually at my farm right now in South Georgia, and took him out shooting skeet. He never shot a gun before. He never shot a compound bow, and got Barry into hunting that year. And after he broke the all-time home run record, he took a huge mule deer. I think it was 192-inch mule deer, and he looked at me. We were up in Colorado. And he looked at me and said, "Is that a big one?" I said, "Bigger than anything I ever shot." So I said, "For your first one, you're pretty dang lucky." So, it was cool teaching Barry because, you get a guy that's never been in the outdoors. We use terminology in the hunting outdoor world. And I remember us walking across, and we were up in Colorado and walking across the top of the mountain. And I kept telling him, quit skylining yourself, quit skylining yourself. Cause you don't want to get at the top of the ridge and skyline yourself so the animals can see. And he goes, "I don't know why you keep yelling that. You're under the impression that what that means." They go, "What does skyline even mean?" So, it's just so you got when you bring new guys in the outdoors, you can't assume that they know the terminology of the outdoor world. But,
Yeah.
It's crazy. Once I took him to the, you ever been to the SHOT Show?
Every year.
Yeah, so I took Barry to the SHOT Show one year and walked around, and within 2 days he had more guns and bows and more stuff in his locker. I was like, it was crazy. And over the years, Stone Cold Steve Austin, a good friend of mine, former wrestler, spent a lot of time down there at SHOT Show with him, and a lot of outdoor people loved, a lot of country singers, a lot of athletes love the outdoors, and so there's a true bond there. To this day, I still get calls from people while they're on the road that are still playing in professional sports and asking me if I can find them a place to fish or hunt. And I try to always oblige if I can. And it's funny. It's, a lot of the pitchers, they all like to go golfing, and they'll have their little black books with all their golf courses and all the contacts names. Sure. And where they go. Mine was all my hunting and fishing spots. And I developed a lot of really good friendships over the years all around the world. So it was a true blessing for sure.
Now, you hunted with Kevin Costner. Now,
I did.
When he was in camp, was he more Dances with Wolves or Yellowstone?
Oh, man, that's a good one. He was just laid back. He's a true conservationist. He loves the outdoors. Loves the quail hunt. He got up and spoke and flew all the way out there. And a friend of mine, Chris Breed, brought him in from Los Angeles and stuff. And just a great day spending some time with him. I didn't want to talk about all the stuff. He's probably trying to get out of the outdoors and try to not talk about movies and all this stuff. So we just stayed in the outdoors and talked about hunting and fishing and actually one of his potential movies that one more, because he's done so many great baseball movies. Yeah. So many great baseball movies. And I asked him if he had one more left in him, and he said he wrote it, and he's waiting to produce it and to knock it out. So I'm kind of hoping that I get a call on that one to help him on that, because we talked about the movie, the potential of his last baseball movie for several hours. So hopefully he'll hire me to come on and do some stuff to make sure it's realistic when it comes to the baseball movie.
Including the locker room. I hear the locker room is more like daycare.
Oh yeah, I found this out years later. We had a group of guys, Scott Linebrink, Jake Peavy, a bunch of guys that love the outdoors. And we had our mounts. We all had our like fishing mounts, and some of us had our deer head mounts and stuff. And I remember coming back one time, and my deer head had like a chip in it. And I was like, man, what happened? It must have fell off, Well, come to find out, in San Diego, every time we left town, they would take all our stuff down and hide it, because when they would bring people in, they didn't want to see a bunch of animal heads and fish, fish mounts in there, so they took it down. It's in California, so you know where I'm coming with this. They would take it all down, and then when we came back in town, they would put it back up. But I guess they didn't put my deer head back up all the way, and it dropped off my locker and cracked, and they tried to do the best thing they could to fix it, but I noticed it. So I found out that years and years down the road that they would take all our stuff down.
So you actually had like a man cave in the locker room. Well,
yeah, we had a few of us. We had a few of us that, like one guy had like a 10-pound bath, and one guy had a mount. So we all had one little thing. It's not like you have this big locker room. We just kind of put it in your locker. A lot of the guys had fish mounts and stuff like that. So yeah, we had our own little. They call it our own little redneck row down in San Diego there for a while.
Now, getting into your conservation, what role do you believe that hunters play in the broader conservation management, and how can they contribute more effectively?
Well, I think it's just knowledge of the system. I think people, once you realize that the most contributors and the highest amount by any means is the hunters, right? So how does that mean? What does that mean? That means that all the purchases of hunting licenses and boat license, boat registration, and the amounts of money that goes back into conservation to help us study the fish, the deer herd, elk herd, the hunters are the largest contributor. So, so it keeps everything in check and force. I'm on the board with foundation board with the National Wild Turkey Federation. And if it wasn't for that group alone, we wouldn't have turkeys. And I mean, we have turkeys in almost every state in the, around. And if it wasn't for the NWTF going in and getting turkeys and relocating them to all these other states, we wouldn't have that. So a lot of the money and the purchases and a lot of that stuff comes from hunters. And it's not all about just, people that are uneducated or haven't studied enough. It's not all about just killing animals. It's about harvesting and eating the animals and conservation, about, giving back and making sure that the herds are healthy and getting studied the right way, and so there's a lot to it. There's a lot that I learned, a lot that I learned over the years with a lot of these organizations. So, it's some states bring in hundreds of millions of dollars in hunting licenses and fishing licenses and boat and registration for boats and stuff. So, that money goes back into the system to help everything keep equal and keep it healthy.
Now you've managed habitat even on your own property. It's habitat restoration and conservation. How have you seen the changes in your own property in your wildlife management?
Well, I mean, it's just a matter of kind of what, again, learning the process, learning the bedding areas, and learning what quail thrive on. And I've had several properties that have been in the conservation, that put in conservation and quality programs for just even there's programs where we're spraying invasive species of weeds and sweet gums and beetles if you're out up in the Rocky Mountains for the beetles. And so there's a lot to be done, a lot to be studied, and from all these different great organizations out there. So, I just try to listen to them. I've learned a lot from several other people over the years about, just keeping that what it is, and try to do the best you can. And there's some great programs out there that'll help subsidize people that own farms and ranches all over the United States to do that. You just have to find them.
Yeah, I've seen that changing the landscape or reintroducing um, plant life or certain species, there's a whole trickle down effect, and it affects the whole ecosystem from the insect all the way up to the big game, the elk, the deer, the wild hogs, or whatever it might be. Uh, the smallest change will affect everything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And something that we've tried to find out. There's a lot there's a lot of change in the last several years. I think it started at quail at first, because Georgia and South Carolina, North Carolina had a lot of a wild quail population, and it's diminished heavily over the last 25 years, 30 years, and we're starting to see that with turkeys now too. And so, and there's a bunch of different scenarios out there, and that's why the organizations are trying to do the best they can in research, and it could be a combination of things, and you can put 10 different experts in the room, and they might have 5 or 10 different things that throw at you, but I think it's a combination of things. On the farm that I'm at now, used to have a ton of wild turkeys. We never overhunted them. We trapped. We did everything we could, and the turkey population in the state of Georgia is down greatly, and it also in a lot of other states. So there's lots of different things that we're trying to do to study that. I think, in my opinion, a lot of it has to do with the red ants, the ant beds. There's been some studies to where if you put like a baby chicken down on the ground that's fresh born, if there's a red ant pile within 10 feet of it, the baby chickens kill within like a half of a day. There's all kinds of different things out there. So the main thing is to study it, do as best you can and figure out what the problem is, and go from there. Lack of trapping back in the years and years ago, they used to trap a lot. So obviously, that's a big thing with the quail eggs and the turkey eggs, for lack of trapping. So there's also there's a new thing out. I'm sure you heard of this, about the possibility of the chicken manure coming in that's having that people use to spread on their farms as fertilizer, that's got some type of disease in it that kills the turkeys. So we really don't know. There's several different theories out there, and I'm sure a little bit has to do with it, plays in all of them. So the main thing is to go out there and continue to support the effort, and try to make sure that stays strong.
Well, we definitely got to do our part. Every license we buy, every round of ammo, every gun, every bow, money goes into the Pittman-Robertson Act, and goes to what we love to do.
That's right. Yep. Yep. We can do everything. I mean, there's a lot of good groups out there, and I try to support all of them. And it's just there's, even in there's stream restoration too, with all the population growing and the water sources. There's a lot to do with a lot of this stuff too. And so I know the mule deer population is starting to decrease out west, northwest, and there's a lot of stuff to be doing that. Obviously, with the predators there, the mountain lions. There's a lot of states that used to allow to go after the mountain lions. Now some of the states are protecting them. They're adding wolves. They've added wolves to certain states, and the wolves they're just devastating to the elk and mule deer population too. So there's a number of things out there but again, all this research wouldn't happen if it wasn't for the outdoorsmen, purchasing the licenses, and some of them donate back to certain charities and stuff. So it's going to be an ongoing effort, I think, forever, to try to just realize, that we try to keep everything healthy as we can. And if something's going wrong, then we step in, just like the turkey population, step in and relocate some animals to an area, and then do some more studying.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. We got to stay active. I'm on the board of the Northeast Chapter Dallas Safari Club, so we try and do our part as well. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. Now,
Yes, sir. Anytime.
at the end of the day, I mean, everything you've been involved with, how would you like to be remembered? Not that it's going to end tomorrow, but how would you like to be remembered?
You know, I guess just somebody that cared about the environment and cared about not just a hunter, not just a guy that goes out and just hunts to take, to kill or just to hunt. I enjoy. I think it's a great way to introduce your family, and I think it's a good way to get away. It kept me out of trouble over the years. It's a good way to spend time with your family. It's a great way to eat organic meat. It's a great way to provide for your family. It's just, I guess when it comes down to it, it's a kind of give and take process. And I just don't want to I didn't want to be one of those guys that was always about the take part. I think the give take is more important. The give part is more important than the take part.
I agree. All right. I appreciate you for taking the time, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Yeah, I'm heading off to New Mexico this week, so I got some friends coming up, and we're gonna be archery hunting up some elk with some good friends of mine. A couple of guys have never been before, so looking to get their first elk for them. So I'm excited. I was out there packing all my stuff and washing it and all the nonsense stuff right now.
The rituals we go through.
Oh yeah. It's nothing better than a good elk steak on the fire.
I agree. I have a couple recipes coming your way.
All right, well, send them to me, and we should have plenty soon, my friend.
All right. Thanks again.
Yes, sir. Anytime.